Welcome back, Coaster Nerd fans, and today I will be giving my full in-depth review of Dorney Park as I went to it in 2020. This is my fourth Cedar Fair park, as I have been to Worlds of Fun, Kings Island, Cedar Point, and then Dorney was my fourth park. So, out of the four Cedar Fair parks that I've been to, definitely the closest I can relate to would be Worlds of Fun, but I feel like Dorney Park overall has a better charm than Worlds of Fun had, and overall, in some cases, had the better ride options. Like, I will get into depth a little bit with the rides, but overall, this small park in Allentown, Pennsylvania, I wasn't expecting it to be honestly that small. But at the same time, though, the park had a pretty big feel to it, if that makes any sense. So their Thunder Canyon raft ride is in the very back of the park, and it was kind of hard to find, and it's kind of like the only ride back there, which, keep in mind, that is a phenomenal raft ride, 10 out of 10. I would recommend riding that when you're at Dorney. But all the roller coasters at the park, of course, they have Hydra, which is a very unique B&M floorless coaster. Definitely not the best B&M floorless coaster, but still, it's a very unique and very picturesque ride. Talon, of course, that's a mid-class B&M invert, but still a phenomenal invert. And then you have Still Force, which I'll get into details about Still Force later on in a review, but I do agree it's quite a bit overrated. And then Thunderhawk, which is their classic old wood coaster. Possessed, which I sadly did not get to ride, which is an intimate impulse coaster, which I love the logo and the name of Possessed. But that's all I can really give to it, but it kind of does look like Wicked Twister, but on a smaller side. And then you have the Kitty Coaster and the Wild Mouse, which I did get to ride those, but I'm not going to personally make a review for those, but this is also a review for Dorney. And of course, like I've said, this is probably my third favorite Cedar Fair park that I have been to, right behind Kings Island and Cedar Point, which is still pretty good, and honestly, I feel like Dorney Park is extraordinarily underrated for what it is. The front entrance is probably one of the nicer front entrances I've seen for a Cedar Fair park, besides Carowinds and Cedar Point's. It's probably like maybe the third or fourth best entrance for the Cedar Fair parks. So Kings Island definitely has one of the worst entrances I've ever seen in a park. So obviously, if we're talking about the first appearances without the coasters, Dorney is definitely up there with Cedar Point on that regards. But when it comes down to rides and stuff, it's definitely on the lower end for the ride categorization. And especially with COVID hitting, most of their flat rides and water rides were not open, so I didn't get to ride Meteorite, which was something I was pretty looking forward to. Not too sure what type of flat ride that is, and a few others, but that's fine. I still had a phenomenal day. I did Dominator, and not a lot of people fight over this, but Demon Drop, if it's a roller coaster, or Intamin's first gen drop tower. So I'm just going to leave that up to you guys to decide, but I'm like 50-50 on it, not too sure, so if you want to count it as a roller coaster, then go for it if you don't want to, but I just like the idea of it being one of Intamin's first generation drop towers. But anyway, whatever you guys think, you can go for it for that. Very fun ride, very unique. I was honestly expecting it to be a lot rougher than what it was, because it just has that funky look to it, where it looks really rough and bumpy. But honestly, the ride experience wasn't too bad. Also, something I would love to say about Dorney Park is their merch collection is phenomenal. I wish, I mean, there's some certain things that Cedar Point has that I kind of wish they did, but for, compared to other Cedar Fair parks, that I've been to, like Worlds of Fun and Kings Island, they, definitely need to step up on their merch, factory, because it's, Dorney knocks it out of the ballpark. Phenomenal selection of merch. Not just for roller coasters, they had like hand stuff created from Pennsylvania and around Allentown, and so I thought that was pretty cool how they got the community involved with that. And overall, with COVID, the temperature checks were painless. It wasn't that long of a wait to get in. The lines really weren't that bad. Really, the day wasn't that bad. But I did leave a bit early, but that's just because I got everything done multiple times. And since I had the Platinum Pass, it wasn't that big of a deal. This park is definitely a half day. So if I would go to Dorney, I would have, and planned out, I would have done Knoebels and Dorney Park in the same day. Just because those two parks are definitely just half-day parks, and they're not really meant for the whole entire day. But also on that regards, the second or the fourth coolest thing at Dorney Park that not a lot of people talk about, but I kind of have a soft spot for, is their trout pond. You can feed legitimate, like, rainbow trout in this pond that they have. And I absolutely love that. I'm a sucker for fish. Of course, most of you probably already know that because most of my, whenever I'm doing like a one-on-one talk with you guys, it has something to do with one of my fish tanks in the background. So I'm a pretty big sucker when it comes down to fish. And just the idea of just being able to feed trout and see trout actually swim along and stuff was really cool. But in their kids section, it's definitely really clean. The park's really kept up really nicely. But anyway, as my final rating for this park, I would probably give this a 7. I mean, of course, they have none of the outstanding roller coasters that make people want to just go to the park. But it's a really nice park. And overall, I think everyone should definitely come to it. I'm at 8, not 7. I just caught myself. But yeah, it's a fantastic park. A lot of people should definitely come and give this park more love. It's definitely not one of the worst parks I've been to. So all the crap that it gets for it being a really bad Cedar Fair park, it doesn't deserve it. And also the reason why they don't get as big as investments as some of other Cedar Fair parks is because it is a smaller park. And they aren't trying to compete really with Hershey and Great Adventure. It's not supposed to be that destination park. It's just built for the community. But anyway, if you guys like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, and we'll see you guys out in